Have you ever felt a deep emptiness when no one is around? As if the world moves on without you and you are left standing still? That feeling, that quiet ache, is something almost everyone experiences, yet few understand. Most people run from it. They fill their lives with noise, constant activity, endless connections, believing that happiness only exists when it is shared or witnessed. But what if the truth is completely different? What if the key to lasting happiness doesn't lie in the presence of others, but in the strength and richness of your own solitude? Imagine discovering a version of yourself that is fully alive, fully content, even when no one else is around. Today, you are about to begin a journey to learn not just how to survive alone, but how to thrive, to find true peace, and to unlock a happiness that no one can take away from you. And if you stay with this video until the end, you'll uncover a mindset shift that will allow you to embrace your solitude as a superpower, transforming every moment of being alone into a deep, quiet joy. Being alone is often misunderstood. The mind immediately associates it with loneliness, with a void that needs filling, with a deficiency that must be corrected. But there is a profound difference between loneliness and being alone. Loneliness is a feeling of lack. It whispers to you that something essential is missing. Being alone, on the other hand, is a state of presence. It is a deliberate choice to step away from external dependence and to cultivate a world within that is so rich, so fulfilling, that the absence of others no longer feels like a punishment, but like freedom. This freedom, this gift of solitude, is where true happiness begins to take root. The people who live in this space are not just surviving, they are thriving in a way most never understand, and you have the power to join them. Think about the times when you have been completely alone, yet felt a sense of discomfort. That discomfort is natural because the mind is conditioned to seek validation and connection constantly. From the earliest moments of life, humans are taught to measure worth through relationships, achievements, and attention from others. But what if the real measure of worth was entirely different? What if the person who truly succeeds, who truly finds peace, is the one who no longer fears being alone, who no longer craves constant approval, and who can stand firmly in their own presence, unshaken and unbothered by the noise of the outside world? This is not an abstract idea. It is a principle rooted in human psychology. Studies show that people who are comfortable with themselves, who can enjoy their own company, report higher levels of happiness, creativity, and resilience. Being alone is not a weakness. It is a form of mastery over your own mind. The first step in this journey is understanding the reward that solitude brings. It allows clarity. It gives space for thoughts to breathe and for emotions to settle. When no one else is around to distract, impress, or influence you, you begin to see yourself as you truly are. The quiet moments become mirrors, reflecting your strengths, your desires, and even your fears. And here lies the paradox. In embracing solitude, the world outside begins to make more sense because the world inside is finally understood. You begin to realize that the approval of others, the constant social validation, the need to be seen or liked, these are illusions. They are temporary, fleeting, and ultimately hollow. True contentment doesn't come from recognition. It comes from acceptance of oneself and from the peace that arises when you no longer depend on external forces to feel complete. Yet this path is not easy. The mind resists at first. When you first spend time alone, you may feel restless, anxious, or even frightened. Thoughts may arise that you are missing out, that life is passing you by. These feelings are not signs of failure. They are signals that the mind is learning a new way of living. Each moment you endure, each minute you allow yourself to simply be without distraction or escape, strengthens your inner resilience. You are building a sanctuary inside yourself, a place where peace is constant, where joy is not conditional, and where your sense of self is unshakable. Over time, the discomfort fades, and you discover a quiet satisfaction that no one and nothing can disturb. Imagine waking up every day knowing that your happiness is not borrowed from anyone, not dependent on circumstances, not vulnerable to the judgments or actions of others. Imagine moving through life with a calm confidence, rooted in the knowledge that you are enough, just as you are. This is the power of being alone, and it is available to you right now. You don't need to wait for someone else to complete you. You don't need external validation to feel worthy. You only need the courage to sit with yourself, to explore the silence, and to embrace the profound freedom that comes from standing alone and still feeling full, alive, and at peace. By the end of this video, you will not just understand how to be alone, you will understand how to love being alone. You will see that solitude is not a void, but a treasure chest filled with clarity, strength, and joy. Every moment of stillness will become an opportunity to grow, to reflect, and to connect with the deepest, most powerful version of yourself. And once you embrace this truth, the world will no longer feel like a place of endless need. It will become a place of choice, of abundance, and of true inner freedom. So take a deep breath and let yourself step into this journey. For the next few minutes, open your mind and allow yourself to feel the possibility that happiness does not come from others. It comes from within. Solitude is not the enemy. It is the path to the strongest, most peaceful, and most fulfilled version of yourself. By the time this journey ends, you will not just learn to be happy alone. You will discover a happiness that no one can ever take from you. Happiness is often misunderstood. Many believe it comes from achievements, possessions, or the presence of others. They chase it as if it were a destination, only to find it slips further away the more they run. But real happiness is not something you find outside. It is something you create within. It does not depend on circumstances or people. It thrives quietly in the mind, nurtured by self-awareness, acceptance, and inner peace. True happiness is not loud, flashy, or conditional. It is subtle, steady, and unwavering. It is the calm river that flows through the storms of life, untouched by the noise, untouched by chaos, untouched by approval or rejection. Many people search for joy in ways that are temporary, filling their days with distractions and constant activity. The mind convinces itself that happiness will arrive when certain conditions are met, when a relationship succeeds, when money increases, when recognition comes. But these are illusions. External achievements can provide satisfaction, yes, but they rarely sustain peace. They come and go like waves on the shore, never forming a permanent foundation. The truth is that lasting happiness begins the moment you stop relying on the world to make you feel complete. It begins when you realize that you already have everything you need inside yourself. Understanding true happiness requires honesty with oneself. It demands the courage to examine your desires, your fears, and the motivations that drive your actions. Too often, the mind confuses attachment and longing with joy. It convinces you that missing someone or wanting something will make life meaningful. But real happiness is free from attachment. It does not depend on people being a certain way or on circumstances aligning perfectly. It exists independently, quietly waiting for you to recognize it. The more you cling to the outside world for happiness, the more fragile and fleeting it becomes. The moment you turn inward, however, you discover a strength and contentment that cannot be shaken. This is where solitude becomes a teacher. When you are alone, free from distraction, you begin to notice the subtle aspects of life that truly matter. You start to feel the warmth of your own presence, the beauty in small moments, and the satisfaction of simply being. It is here, in this quiet space, that happiness is born, not as an event, but as a state of being. You begin to understand that the mind can create joy at any moment, regardless of what is happening outside. Smiles arise naturally, laughter comes easily, and even challenges lose their weight because you are anchored in a stable inner world. A powerful step toward inner happiness is learning to embrace self-acceptance. The mind often criticizes, compares, and judges relentlessly, creating a sense of lack and dissatisfaction. But true peace emerges when you accept yourself fully, the strengths, the flaws, the past mistakes, and the unfulfilled dreams. Acceptance does not mean giving up or becoming passive. It means recognizing reality without unnecessary resistance. When you stop fighting yourself, the energy you once spent on criticism and comparison transforms into creativity, gratitude, and joy. Life becomes lighter and happiness flows effortlessly. Another key is shifting perspective. Many believe happiness is something to be chased, a prize to be earned. In reality, it is cultivated by noticing and appreciating the present moment. The human mind is wired to dwell on regrets, anxieties, and what-ifs, often overlooking what is already good, already beautiful, and already nourishing. Gratitude, even for the smallest things, the taste of a morning coffee, the quiet of a peaceful night, the rhythm of your own breath, trains the mind to focus on abundance rather than lack. This simple practice transforms ordinary moments into a profound source of happiness. True happiness also grows when you become the master of your mind instead of a servant to it. The thoughts that arise in solitude can be overwhelming, but they also hold immense potential. Every fear, every desire, every memory is an opportunity to understand yourself better and strengthen your mental resilience. The mind may whisper that you are missing out, that you are alone, or that life is unfair. When you learn to observe these thoughts without being controlled by them, you begin to experience freedom. Happiness emerges as a byproduct of inner mastery as your mind stops creating unnecessary suffering and begins to support your growth. It is important to remember that happiness is not a final destination. It is a practice. Each moment offers a choice to feed the mind with gratitude, acceptance, and awareness, or to let it dwell on lack, comparison, and dependence. The people who live happiest are not those who have perfect circumstances, but those who have learned to cultivate joy regardless of what surrounds them. They are the ones who can sit alone in silence and feel complete, who can smile without needing validation, and who can navigate life's storms with calm and certainty. This is the essence of true happiness, a state that grows within, independent of the external world. The power of internal happiness also transforms relationships, work, and life itself. When you are content within, you stop seeking others to fill gaps that only you can fill. You engage with the world from a place of fullness, not neediness. You give freely, love authentically, and contribute meaningfully. Your interactions become richer, deeper, and more satisfying because they are chosen, not required. The peace you cultivate alone radiates outward, touching everything in your life. Finally, understanding true happiness is about freedom. It is about the freedom to exist without constant fear, without endless comparison, and without dependence on others for your emotional survival. It is about waking up each day and knowing that your joy cannot be taken, stolen, or destroyed. This freedom is the reward of solitude, reflection, and self-acceptance. It is the foundation upon which a life of peace, confidence, and fulfillment is built. By learning to find happiness within, you gain a power that no circumstance, no relationship, and no external force can ever undermine. Happiness is not outside. It has always been inside. The moment you embrace this truth, the entire way you experience life changes. Challenges lose their weight. Solitude becomes comforting. And every moment is an opportunity to feel contentment, gratitude, and peace. The journey to happiness begins with one choice: to stop searching outside and to start discovering the infinite richness within yourself. Fear is a powerful force, one that silently shapes choices and limits potential. Among the many fears that haunt the human mind, the fear of being alone is one of the strongest. It whispers that solitude equals emptiness, that being without others is a sign of failure, and that life loses its meaning without constant company. This fear is deeply rooted in human nature, born from the instinct to seek safety, comfort, and validation from the presence of others. But while this instinct once protected us, in modern life it often traps us, keeping us dependent and disconnected from our own inner strength. The truth is that fear of being alone is not a reflection of reality, it is a reflection of the mind's misunderstanding of what solitude truly offers. Many people spend their lives running from themselves, filling every moment with noise, distractions, or social obligations because they cannot face the quiet. When alone, the mind exposes thoughts and feelings we have long ignored. Regrets, insecurities, and unfulfilled desires rise to the surface. At first, this confrontation feels uncomfortable, even frightening. The mind tells stories that being alone means being unwanted, unloved, or incomplete. But these stories are illusions. They are products of the habit of looking outward for validation rather than inward for truth. Once recognized, these fears lose their control. Being alone does not signify weakness. It signifies opportunity. The fear of solitude often stems from dependency. When we rely on others to feel happy, safe, or validated, we tie our emotions to forces beyond our control. One small conflict, a lost connection, or a moment of rejection can trigger waves of anxiety and despair. This dependency creates the illusion that happiness, love, and security exist only outside ourselves. It convinces the mind that life is unbearable without constant companionship. But the reality is that freedom begins the moment we stop depending on others for our sense of worth. Solitude becomes not a threat, but a sanctuary, a place to reconnect with what is real and permanent, our own presence. Many people also fear loneliness because it forces them to face themselves. In the absence of distraction, The mind cannot escape its own thoughts. Emotions that were buried beneath busyness and noise emerge with intensity. Regret over past mistakes, guilt, or feelings of inadequacy often appear. This is natural. The mind resists because it is being asked to confront the unknown within. But this confrontation is essential. The moments that feel most uncomfortable are the moments that hold the greatest potential for growth. By facing these feelings directly, by sitting with them rather than avoiding them, we discover resilience, clarity, and a deeper understanding of who we are. Another reason solitude feels threatening is comparison. Humans are social creatures by design, and the mind constantly measures itself against others. When alone, these comparisons can intensify. Questions arise: am I enough? Am I missing out? Why does everyone else seem happier? These thoughts are natural, but they are not reality. They're the mind's attempt to quantify self-worth through external standards. True peace begins when you release the need to measure your life against anyone else's. When you stop comparing, you stop competing with illusions. Solitude becomes a space to focus solely on your own journey, your own growth, and your own sense of fulfillment. It is also common to fear solitude because society often glorifies constant connection. We are told that happiness requires activity, engagement, and social interaction. We see endless images of people together, laughing, celebrating, and achieving, while solitude is framed as undesirable or unnatural. But this perspective is misleading. The moments spent alone are where creativity, reflection, and self-discovery thrive. Silence is not emptiness. It is a laboratory for the mind, a space where understanding deepens and where the roots of inner peace grow strong. Those who embrace solitude learn to see the world with clarity, free from the distortion of comparison, expectation, and fear. Overcoming the fear of being alone begins with awareness. The first step is noticing how often the mind resists stillness. Recognize the anxiety, the urges to escape, and the internal dialogues that create tension. Do not judge these feelings. They are natural. Simply observe them. Awareness itself weakens fear. It allows the mind to see that the feeling of being alone is temporary, while the strength and wisdom gained from embracing solitude are lasting. Every moment spent facing the quiet is a step toward freedom, confidence, and emotional independence. Another critical step is building trust in oneself. Fear arises when we doubt our ability to handle life independently. But every challenge faced alone, every thought examined, and every emotion embraced strengthens this trust. The mind begins to understand that it can endure, adapt, and even thrive without constant external support. Once this trust develops, solitude becomes a source of empowerment. Being alone is no longer something to avoid. It becomes a choice, a space where you can recharge, reflect, and reconnect with your deepest values and desires. Finally, the fear of being alone can be transformed into gratitude. Solitude is a gift, not a punishment. It offers the freedom to pursue passions without distraction, the opportunity to explore thoughts and dreams deeply, and the chance to build an unshakable foundation of self-reliance. The moments that once felt frightening become precious. The mind learns to welcome silence instead of fearing it, to see stillness as growth rather than emptiness, and to recognize that being alone is a pathway to clarity, strength, and lasting peace. The more you embrace solitude, the more you realize that the fear you once felt was an illusion, a story created by the mind, not a reflection of reality. Life alone is not lonely when the soul is full. Happiness does not vanish when others leave. It emerges when you learn to exist fully within yourself. The mind that once trembled at silence now thrives in it, discovering a calm confidence that no outside force can shake. Fear is replaced by freedom, anxiety by clarity, and longing by deep, unwavering contentment. Every moment of solitude is an opportunity. Every quiet hour is a step toward emotional independence. The fear of being alone is natural, but it is also conquerable. Once embraced, it becomes the gateway to a life of inner strength, fulfillment, and peace that cannot be disturbed by circumstances, opinions, or the presence or absence of others. Solitude is not a limitation. It is the most powerful classroom in which the mind, heart, and soul learn the true art of happiness. True growth begins in quiet moments when the mind is still and open. Self-reflection is the doorway to understanding who you are, what drives you, and what you truly need to feel complete. Many people avoid this practice because it feels uncomfortable. They fear discovering weaknesses, confronting regrets, or acknowledging desires they have long ignored. Yet, it is in these moments of honest introspection that the seeds of lasting happiness are planted. Without self-reflection, life becomes a series of reactions, chasing external rewards, seeking approval, and responding to circumstances, without ever discovering the deeper truths that guide the heart and mind. Self-reflection allows clarity. In the silence of being alone, you begin to notice patterns in your thoughts and actions. You start to recognize what energizes you, what drains you, and what repeatedly pulls you into stress or dissatisfaction. These discoveries may feel challenging at first because they often reveal areas where you have avoided responsibility, ignored your own needs, or allowed fear to dictate decisions. But understanding these patterns is essential. It gives you the power to choose consciously rather than react unconsciously. The more you explore your inner world, the more control you gain over your emotions, decisions, and life direction. One of the greatest benefits of self-reflection is honesty with oneself. Many people live in a state of quiet denial, telling themselves comforting stories to avoid pain. They may blame circumstances, others, or luck for their struggles, rather than looking inward. But true peace comes when you accept your role in your own experiences. By examining your thoughts, habits, and reactions, you gain insight into how you create your own reality. This does not mean harsh self-criticism. It means observing yourself with curiosity and compassion, understanding where change is needed, and acknowledging where you are already strong. Self-reflection also nurtures emotional intelligence. By understanding your own feelings, triggers, and responses, you become better equipped to handle challenges, conflicts, and disappointments. You learn to recognize when emotions are temporary reactions and when they indicate deeper needs. This awareness prevents unnecessary suffering and reduces the power of negative thoughts. It allows the mind to respond thoughtfully rather than impulsively, turning potential obstacles into opportunities for growth. Emotional mastery is a cornerstone of happiness, and self-reflection is the path that leads to it. In addition, self-reflection deepens self-awareness. You begin to uncover the values, dreams, and passions that define who you are. Often, people lose touch with their authentic selves, influenced by expectations, comparisons, or social pressures. Being alone and reflecting on life provides the space to reconnect with your true nature. You begin to identify what genuinely matters, what aligns with your principles, and what contributes to lasting fulfillment. This awareness shapes every decision, every goal, and every interaction, allowing life to be lived intentionally rather than by default. The practice of self-reflection also strengthens resilience. When alone, the mind may present fears, doubts, or reminders of past failures. Instead of avoiding these feelings, self-reflection encourages facing them directly. Each confrontation builds mental and emotional strength. Every time you examine a fear, a regret, or a mistake and respond with understanding instead of panic, you reinforce the belief that you can handle life on your own terms. Solitude, once feared, becomes a sanctuary where the mind learns its own power and resourcefulness. Gratitude becomes a natural companion to self-reflection. When you take time to review life, successes, lessons, and even hardships, you begin to see the abundance around you. The mind that once focused on lack and external validation starts to recognize what is already present. Gratitude shifts the perspective from scarcity to sufficiency, from dependence to independence, and from longing to contentment. Every moment of reflection becomes an opportunity to honor your journey, recognize growth, and appreciate the person you are becoming. Self-reflection also enhances decision-making. By understanding your patterns, values, and emotional responses, you make choices that are aligned with your true self. Life becomes less about reacting to external pressures or chasing fleeting desires and more about moving steadily toward meaningful goals. The clarity gained from reflection eliminates confusion, reduces stress, and allows confidence to grow. You begin to trust your judgment, rely on your intuition, and navigate life with certainty. Another profound benefit is discovering inner peace. The mind, when left unchecked, often races with worries, judgments, and comparisons. Self-reflection slows this chaos, providing space for calm observation. In solitude, you notice that most fears and anxieties are temporary thoughts, not reality. This realization lightens the mind, reduces unnecessary suffering, and creates a sense of stability. Inner peace emerges as a natural result of looking within, understanding oneself, and accepting life without constant judgment or resistance. Ultimately, embracing self-reflection is about reconnecting with yourself. It is about learning to sit with your thoughts without fear, exploring your emotions without shame, and understanding your journey without blame. Every moment spent in this practice strengthens self-awareness, builds emotional resilience, and nurtures authentic happiness. Life becomes more intentional, more aligned, and more fulfilling. Solitude, once seen as emptiness, transforms into a powerful tool for growth. Every insight gained through reflection empowers action. The mind learns to recognize patterns, make better choices, and respond with wisdom instead of fear. Habits can be changed, emotions managed, and goals clarified. Self-reflection is not a one-time activity, it is a daily practice, a dialogue with your own mind and heart that deepens over time. With each session, solitude becomes less intimidating and more treasured. The mind begins to understand that happiness and peace are cultivated from within, and that true contentment is the reward of knowing oneself fully. When embraced consistently, self-reflection turns fear into curiosity, discomfort into learning, and isolation into empowerment. The mind becomes a source of strength rather than a source of anxiety. Solitude becomes a sanctuary, a place to recharge, explore, and grow. By committing to this practice, the foundation of lasting happiness is established, not in external circumstances, but in the quiet, deliberate understanding of who you are, what you value, and how to live in harmony with yourself. Many people live their lives chasing approval. From the earliest years, the mind is trained to seek recognition, admiration, and acceptance from others. Compliments feel rewarding, praise reinforces confidence, and social approval becomes a measure of worth. At first, it seems harmless, perhaps even motivating, but over time, this dependence subtly erodes inner freedom. When your sense of value is tied to what others think, every smile, criticism, or judgment can dictate your mood, choices, and even your dreams. True freedom begins when this dependency is broken. It begins when you stop living for the applause of others and start living in alignment with your own truth. External validation creates a subtle but constant pressure. Decisions are made to impress, not to satisfy personal desires. Actions are taken to conform, not to express authenticity. Every choice becomes a reflection of perceived expectations rather than a reflection of the self. This cycle leads to exhaustion, anxiety, and inner emptiness. The mind becomes a prisoner, forever seeking signals from the outside world to measure worth. Yet the irony is that approval is fleeting. What feels validating today may feel irrelevant tomorrow. Happiness that depends on others is unstable. Peace that relies on their opinions is temporary. The only lasting foundation is internal recognition. Breaking free from this dependence requires awareness. First, notice when actions are motivated by others' expectations rather than personal conviction. Every thought of comparison, every desire to be liked or admired reveals a pattern of seeking approval. Awareness does not condemn or blame, it simply illuminates. Once recognized, the cycle can be interrupted. You begin to see that the mind has been conditioned to believe that approval equals value, when in reality, self-respect and contentment are cultivated from within. Letting go of external validation also means embracing authenticity. This requires courage because the mind fears rejection and disapproval, but authenticity is the gateway to inner freedom. When decisions, words, and actions align with personal values, the energy once spent on worry, pretense, and approval transforms into focus, creativity, and fulfillment. You start to act from a place of strength rather than insecurity, clarity rather than fear, and intention rather than reaction. Life becomes lighter, more purposeful, and more aligned with who you truly are. Another essential part of this process is understanding that validation from others is temporary and unreliable. Praise can turn into criticism, attention can fade, and admiration can disappear. When happiness is tied to these shifting sands, the mind is constantly anxious, seeking the next wave of recognition. By contrast, self-validation is stable and enduring. When you acknowledge your efforts, honor your choices, and appreciate your growth, you create an internal source of strength and satisfaction that no one can take away. This inner recognition becomes a powerful shield against doubt, negativity, and fear. Self-compassion is central to letting go of external validation. Treat yourself with the kindness, understanding, and patience you might give to a loved one. Recognize your achievements, forgive your mistakes, and celebrate progress, no matter how small. The mind begins to internalize that worth is inherent, not earned. When self-compassion becomes a habit, external judgments lose their power. You no longer need constant reassurance from others to feel complete. Confidence emerges naturally, rooted in awareness of your own value and the knowledge that your life has meaning independent of others' opinions. This process also encourages independence. When you stop seeking constant validation, you begin to take ownership of your choices and experiences. Life becomes a series of conscious decisions rather than reactions to external pressures. The mind is free to explore passions, pursue growth, and embrace challenges without fear of judgment. Independence does not mean isolation. It means standing in your truth, feeling whole, and making choices that honor your values. This freedom allows happiness to arise naturally without interference from others' expectations. It is natural for the mind to resist letting go of validation. Fear may arise, fear of rejection, fear of being misunderstood, fear of losing relationships. These fears are not signs of weakness. They are reminders that growth requires courage. Each time you choose to honor your own judgment over external opinions, you strengthen resilience and assert independence. Over time, the mind stops equating approval with survival and starts equating self-trust with security. This shift creates a deep, lasting sense of peace. Practicing self-validation also fosters gratitude. When the mind recognizes personal effort, commitment, and growth, satisfaction arises from within. Achievements are celebrated privately, joys are acknowledged quietly, and contentment is found in awareness of progress. This practice transforms life into a journey of self-appreciation rather than a competition for recognition. The mind becomes anchored, no longer dependent on fluctuating signals from the outside world. Ultimately, letting go of external validation is liberation. It is the realization that you are complete as you are, that your worth is inherent, and that happiness does not require permission from anyone else. Life transforms when the mind is no longer ruled by the need to impress, prove, or seek acceptance. Freedom replaces anxiety, confidence replaces doubt, and inner peace replaces constant striving. Every decision becomes intentional, every action becomes meaningful, and every moment becomes an opportunity to honor the self. By cultivating self-recognition, embracing authenticity, and practicing self-compassion, the mind learns that validation is not found outside, it is created inside. This shift is profound. Relationships, work, and experiences are no longer dictated by fear or dependency. Instead, they are guided by clarity, confidence, and a strong sense of personal truth. Solitude, once intimidating, becomes empowering. Life, once defined by external approval, becomes defined by choice, alignment, and inner satisfaction. The freedom that comes from releasing the need for approval is transformative. The mind no longer wavers with praise or falters with criticism. Happiness is no longer borrowed, it is owned. Peace is no longer conditional, it is steady. By letting go of external validation, you unlock a power that allows life to be lived fully, intentionally, and joyfully, anchored not in what others think, but in the unshakable certainty of your own value. Happiness is not always found in grand achievements or extraordinary events. Often, it hides in the quiet, overlooked details of everyday life. A soft breeze on the skin, the warmth of sunlight, the rhythm of breathing, the laughter of a child, or the taste of a simple meal. These small moments carry the power to awaken joy when we learn to notice them. Most people rush through life focused on the future or weighed down by the past, and in doing so, they miss the richness of the present. True contentment grows when attention shifts from the pursuit of distant rewards to the appreciation of what is already here. The human mind is wired to seek novelty and excitement. This trait can be useful, but it also creates dissatisfaction. When we constantly chase bigger, louder, and more impressive experiences, we overlook the subtle beauty that surrounds us. Simple moments, though quiet, are infinitely nourishing. They require mindfulness, awareness, and a willingness to pause. By slowing down and paying attention, even ordinary experiences transform into sources of peace and happiness. The mind begins to understand that joy is not outside. It is woven into the fabric of everyday life, waiting to be acknowledged. Gratitude is the key to unlocking this joy. When the mind actively notices what is good, even in small ways, it begins to create a reservoir of positive emotion. A single thought of appreciation, I am grateful for this morning, for my breath, for my senses, can shift perception instantly. The brain starts to prioritize what is abundant rather than what is lacking. Over time, these small acknowledgments accumulate, transforming ordinary days into rich experiences filled with awareness, satisfaction, and contentment. Finding joy in simple moments also teaches resilience. Life is unpredictable. Challenges, disappointments, and setbacks are inevitable. Yet, when the mind practices noticing and appreciating small sources of happiness, it builds a foundation that remains steady even during difficult times. A quiet cup of tea, a smile from a stranger, the comfort of being alone and at peace. These moments anchor the mind. They remind us that happiness is not dependent on circumstances. It is a choice, cultivated through attention and presence. Mindfulness amplifies the power of simple moments. Paying attention to the senses, what is seen, heard, felt, smelled, or tasted, draws the mind into the present. Thoughts of regret, worry, or comparison fade as awareness rests fully on what is occurring now. Each sound, color, or sensation becomes a teacher, revealing the depth of life that is often ignored. The mind learns that pleasure does not require excess, and peace does not require escape. It arises naturally when we allow ourselves to experience each moment fully, without judgment or distraction. Simplicity also reveals the abundance that is often invisible in the search for more. Many people think happiness is scarce, a prize to be earned or discovered. In reality, joy exists in every corner of life if attention is given. The chirping of birds, the rustle of leaves, the feeling of water on skin, or the quiet rhythm of breathing. These ordinary elements are extraordinary when observed consciously. Every moment contains layers of richness that the mind overlooks when it seeks constant stimulation, approval, or comparison. Practicing this awareness requires patience and intention. It is natural for the mind to dismiss small moments as insignificant or to ignore them in favor of grand goals or distractions. Yet, every pause taken to observe, appreciate, and feel is an exercise in strengthening the mind's capacity for contentment. Over time, this practice rewires perception. Ordinary days become meaningful. Challenges feel lighter because the mind remembers that joy exists even in the smallest fragments of life. Happiness becomes a companion rather than a pursuit. Savoring simplicity also fosters self-connection. When external noise quiets, the mind naturally turns inward. Observing simple moments often triggers reflection, gratitude, and awareness of personal values. These moments become mirrors, showing what truly matters: peace, connection, presence, and appreciation. They remind the mind that fulfillment is not in accumulation, recognition, or comparison. It is in living fully within the present, observing life as it unfolds, and discovering the richness already available. Another benefit of embracing simple moments is clarity. The mind, when distracted by complexity or desire for more, becomes restless and scattered. Simplicity centers attention and focus. Each small observation becomes a training ground for awareness, teaching patience, discipline, and presence. The more the mind practices noticing these small joys, the easier it becomes to navigate life with calm, confidence, and satisfaction. Happiness, once elusive, becomes steady and reliable. Finally, finding joy in simplicity is a form of freedom. It releases the mind from endless striving, comparison, and dependence on external events for happiness. Life no longer feels like a constant chase, but a series of opportunities to connect with the present. Even when alone, even when circumstances are imperfect, the mind can generate happiness from what is already here. Simple moments, when observed and appreciated, teach the greatest lesson of all. Fulfillment is not a destination. It is a way of experiencing each moment fully with gratitude, awareness, and joy. By learning to notice, appreciate, and immerse in small moments, the mind becomes fertile ground for peace, contentment, and deep happiness. Life transforms when ordinary experiences are treated as extraordinary. Every sunrise, every breath, every quiet pause is an invitation to awaken to joy that has always been present. True happiness is not in what is achieved, collected, or validated by others. It is in the quiet awareness of life unfolding, rich with beauty, depth, and possibility. Life becomes vibrant when the mind engages in activities that ignite curiosity and joy. Hobbies and passions are more than mere entertainment. They are a bridge to self-discovery, creativity, and inner fulfillment. When attention is devoted to something deeply meaningful, the mind enters a state of flow, a place where time disappears, stress fades, and energy is renewed. This engagement strengthens the connection with oneself, offering a sense of purpose and achievement, independent of external circumstances. In solitude, cultivating passions becomes even more powerful, turning alone time into a source of growth and happiness. Many people underestimate the value of dedicating time to personal interests. Routine and obligations often take precedence, leaving little space for exploration or experimentation. Yet, hobbies provide a sanctuary for the mind, a place to nurture curiosity without judgment or expectation. Whether it is painting, writing, playing an instrument, exercising, or learning a new skill, these activities awaken dormant parts of the self. They allow expression of emotions, thoughts, and creativity in ways that words alone cannot capture. Every effort, every small step contributes to personal development, confidence, and joy. Passions also offer structure and meaning in life. When the mind is directed toward a goal or activity that inspires, it becomes focused and energized. This focus reduces anxiety, prevents overthinking, and provides a sense of accomplishment. Even small victories within a hobby, a completed project, a learned technique, or a moment of mastery create internal validation that no external approval can replicate. The mind learns that effort, dedication, and curiosity are rewarding in themselves, reinforcing self-worth and personal satisfaction. Exploring hobbies encourages courage and experimentation. Many people resist new activities because of fear of failure, fear of judgment, or fear of being inexperienced. Yet every attempt, regardless of outcome, strengthens resilience and adaptability. The act of trying, learning, and improving teaches the mind to embrace challenges as opportunities. This mindset extends beyond hobbies and into all areas of life. The more the mind experiences growth and fulfillment through personal pursuits, the more it trusts itself to handle difficulties, uncertainties, and transitions with confidence. Hobbies also provide a unique form of mindfulness. When fully immersed in an activity that captures attention, the mind naturally quiets. Thoughts about the past or future diminish, replaced by presence and engagement. This state of focused attention, often called flow, is deeply satisfying. It teaches the mind that happiness does not require external validation or material reward. It arises naturally when we allow ourselves to engage fully with what we love. The peace and joy discovered through passion become internal resources that strengthen emotional stability. Another benefit of cultivating personal interest is the sense of identity it builds. In a world that often measures worth through comparison, achievement, and recognition, hobbies provide a direct connection to the self. They reflect authentic desires, talents, and preferences. Engaging in something purely for the joy it brings reinforces the idea that value is inherent and not dependent on others. This understanding nurtures confidence, independence, and the ability to enjoy solitude without feeling incomplete. Hobbies also foster creativity and problem solving. When the mind explores new skills, ideas, or forms of expression, it develops flexibility and adaptability. Challenges within these pursuits encourage innovative thinking, patience, and persistence. These qualities spill over into everyday life, improving decision-making, emotional management, and the ability to navigate obstacles with calm and insight. Cultivating passions is therefore not just a form of entertainment, it is an essential exercise in building a resilient, capable, and confident mind. Even small, simple hobbies have profound effects. Journaling for 10 minutes, taking a daily walk, experimenting with cooking, or practicing a musical instrument can all create moments of satisfaction and growth. The key is consistency and engagement, not perfection. Every deliberate effort reinforces the mind's ability to generate joy independently of circumstance. cultivating a sense of accomplishment and self-reliance that extends beyond the hobby itself. Passions also deepen self-understanding. As the mind explores interests, it uncovers hidden strengths, preferences, and potentials. This knowledge provides clarity about what brings satisfaction and what drains energy. Over time, hobbies become a mirror reflecting personal values, desires, and authentic inclinations. The process of engaging, learning, and evolving within a chosen pursuit becomes a powerful tool for self-awareness and emotional intelligence. Importantly, cultivating hobbies and passions strengthens the ability to enjoy solitude. Time alone is no longer empty or uncomfortable. It becomes an opportunity to engage fully with personal interests and to recharge emotionally and mentally. The mind learns that fulfillment is not borrowed from others, but created independently. This awareness enhances confidence, reduces fear of loneliness, and provides a stable foundation for lasting happiness. Ultimately, hobbies and passions are a source of empowerment. They teach that life can be rich, joyful, and meaningful without dependence on external approval or constant social interaction. Every moment spent exploring personal interests strengthens self-trust, nurtures creativity, and deepens connection with the inner self. The mind learns that joy, growth, and satisfaction are always available when attention is directed inward, and life begins to feel purposeful, vibrant, and full. By intentionally dedicating time to hobbies and passions, solitude transforms from a quiet space into a playground for the mind and heart. It becomes a place where curiosity, creativity, and fulfillment flourish. Happiness is no longer conditional. It is cultivated, nurtured, and owned. This practice reinforces the truth that life's richness is found not in external rewards, but in the consistent pursuit of what inspires and energizes the soul. Strength does not come from comfort. It is forged in moments of challenge, in times when the mind and heart are tested, and in circumstances that push beyond the familiar. Mental and emotional strength is not something you were born with. It is something cultivated deliberately through experience, reflection, and consistent effort. It is the ability to remain steady when life is uncertain, resilient when obstacles arise, and calm when emotions threaten to overwhelm. Those who master this strength discover a power that solitude amplifies, the knowledge that they can face life on their own terms, no matter what comes. Many people avoid challenges or difficult emotions because they feel threatening. The mind seeks safety, control, and predictability, and it interprets discomfort as danger. Yet discomfort is the most reliable teacher of strength. Every fear faced, every frustration endured, and every uncertainty navigated contributes to resilience. Each time the mind observes its own reactions and chooses deliberate action over impulsive response, strength grows. Emotional turbulence becomes training ground, not a threat. The more you confront the difficulties within and around you, the more capable you become at navigating life with confidence. Building mental strength begins with self-awareness. The mind must first recognize patterns of thought, emotional triggers, and habitual reactions. Many people are unaware of how often they allow external events or opinions to dictate mood, choices, or self-perception. By observing these tendencies without judgment, the mind gains the ability to interrupt them. Awareness creates the space between stimulus and response, allowing reason, patience, and intentionality to guide action. This is the foundation of mental strength, the ability to respond thoughtfully rather than react unconsciously. Equally important is emotional regulation. Emotions are not enemies, they are signals. Fear, anger, sadness, and anxiety provide information about needs, boundaries, and desires. The challenge is not to eliminate emotions, but to understand them and act wisely in response. Emotional strength is developed when the mind learns to experience feelings fully without being controlled by them, by acknowledging emotions without judgment, observing them without attachment, and responding without impulsivity. The mind cultivates stability and resilience. Life becomes less chaotic when emotional turbulence no longer dictates decisions or disrupts peace. Resilience also grows through deliberate exposure to challenges. Each time you step outside comfort zones, whether by pursuing a goal, facing a fear, or confronting a difficult truth, you reinforce the belief that you can endure and adapt. The mind learns that setbacks are temporary and surmountable, that discomfort is instructive, and that failure is a stepping stone, not a verdict. Over time, challenges stop being intimidating and become opportunities for growth, confidence, and mastery over self. Mental and emotional strength is strengthened not by avoiding difficulty, but by embracing it consciously and repeatedly. Another key element is the cultivation of discipline. Strength is not only about enduring external pressure, it is about governing the mind, habits, and responses. Daily practices, routines, and commitments build resilience incrementally. Small choices, like maintaining focus, completing tasks despite resistance, or practicing patience, accumulate into unshakable inner strength. Discipline is the bridge between potential and execution. It allows the mind to act with purpose, even when motivation falters, fear rises, or circumstances feel challenging. Reflection and learning from experience are essential components of growth. Every emotional response, every struggle, and every moment of doubt carries insight. By reviewing experiences with curiosity rather than regret, the mind strengthens its capacity to navigate future challenges. Mistakes are reframed as lessons, setbacks become teachers, and obstacles transform into opportunities for growth. Emotional intelligence deepens as the mind becomes attuned to itself, developing both empathy and insight into the patterns that shape reactions and behaviors. Patience is another pillar of mental and emotional strength. Many seek quick solutions, instant comfort, or immediate validation. Strength is built in the intervals of waiting, enduring, and persevering without immediate reward. The mind learns to trust the process, to endure discomfort, and to maintain equilibrium despite uncertainty. Patience allows decisions to be guided by reason rather than impulse, and it creates space for clarity, understanding, and wisdom to emerge. Physical and mental practices often complement one another in building strength. Regular exercise, meditation, or mindful breathing reinforces resilience by training focus, discipline, and awareness. Physical challenges test endurance, mental exercises refine control over thought, and meditation fosters emotional balance. Together, they create a foundation that supports calmness, confidence, and adaptability under pressure. Solitude, again, enhances these practices, providing uninterrupted space for consistent growth and reflection. Ultimately, building mental and emotional strength is about reclaiming power over life. The mind learns that it can handle uncertainty, that emotions are tools rather than threats, and that challenges are invitations rather than obstacles. The more strength is developed, the less fear of being alone, of facing difficulties, or of navigating life independently exists. The mind becomes a stable anchor in the storms of life, capable of sustaining happiness, peace, and purpose, regardless of circumstance. The journey of strength is continuous. It is forged daily through observation, practice, challenge, and reflection. Each moment of adversity faced, each emotional surge acknowledged, and each decision made with awareness adds to the foundation. Mental and emotional resilience transforms solitude from a place of discomfort into a realm of empowerment. The mind learns that inner peace and confidence are cultivated, not granted. Life is no longer intimidating. It is an opportunity to exercise strength, grow in self-mastery, and thrive independently. By intentionally embracing discomfort, regulating emotions, and practicing discipline, the mind discovers a profound independence. Challenges no longer feel threatening. Setbacks no longer feel permanent. Strength allows life to be experienced fully, without fear, hesitation, or dependence on external forces. Solitude becomes not a void, but a laboratory for the mind, where confidence, clarity, and emotional stability are continuously refined. With each deliberate step, mental and emotional strength grows, and the foundation for lasting happiness and peace is firmly established. Self-love is the foundation of true freedom. Many people misunderstand it as selfishness, arrogance, or indulgence, but in reality, self-love is the conscious decision to value, nurture, and respect oneself. It is the recognition that your life, your mind, and your feelings are worthy of care and attention. Without self-love, happiness becomes fragile, easily swayed by criticism, rejection, or circumstance. With self-love, the mind becomes a fortress, resilient, confident, and free. It is the realization that the most important relationship in life is the one you have with yourself. Learning to love oneself begins with acceptance. Every strength, weakness, flaw, and imperfection is part of who you are, and each aspect deserves acknowledgement without judgment. Many spend a lifetime criticizing themselves, chasing impossible ideals, or feeling unworthy. This internal conflict drains energy and blocks joy. Self-love dissolves this tension. It does not ignore areas for growth. It embraces them with patience and understanding. When you accept yourself fully, the mind finds calm and life becomes easier because the pressure to conform to external expectations is lifted. Boundaries are an essential component of self-love. Loving yourself means understanding what you will allow and what you will not. It is the courage to say no without guilt, to protect energy, and to prioritize needs over obligations that do not serve your well-being. Boundaries are not walls that separate you from others. They are fences that preserve your inner peace. They create space for focus, clarity, and happiness. The mind that respects itself no longer surrenders to manipulation, pressure, or unnecessary stress, and this freedom fosters resilience and confidence. Self-love also transforms the perception of solitude. When you are rooted in appreciation and care for yourself, being alone no longer feels like emptiness. Instead, it becomes an opportunity for growth, reflection, and joy. Moments that once carried discomfort or fear now carry empowerment. The mind realizes that happiness is not borrowed from others. It is cultivated internally, nurtured through attention, respect, and intentional care. Solitude becomes a teacher, a mirror reflecting the strength, wisdom, and beauty inherent within. Gratitude is intertwined with self-love.